So what we thought we would do is, so one of the intentions of this conference um, is to help underrepresented countries kind of build relationships and in terms of their patient associations and their scientists as well. That's what we've actually got funding for, to actually run this conference. So we thought we'd get together with some leads of some of the more established associations around Europe to kind of share ideas and insights into kind of how those associations got where they are today, and take questions and queries from people from other countries who perhaps are looking to try and get similar associations set up in their own countries, or maybe different models. Be interesting to hear what the various leads of their associations might have done differently, knowing what they know now. So as I say, this is very informal. We have a few people that we've kind of picked to be here, but I can see there's a number of other people who have joined us as well. You're all very welcome to pitch in on this. Do speak up with your ideas, your questions, and so on. So just to kind of get us started, I'm going to go around and ask each of them to introduce themselves. So each of the kind of leaders of each association, I'm going to ask them to say which association they're from, when it was founded, roughly how many members they've got, and approximately how much income they get each year. Okay. Now, the other thing I should say is that these people, we've invited them as individuals. They're not necessarily here representing their organisation. So, you know, things that they sort of say and think may not necessarily be the policy or intention of their organisation. It might be just their personal views and aspirations. Okay, so I'll start with Barbara then, I think. So yeah, Barbara, can you just give us a quick introduction to yourself?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Okay, I'm here. Well, I belong to actually to two associations, like many of the other persons in here, which is the Italian Association for Aniridia and Aniridia Europe. Well, for the Italian Association, it was, well, it started in 2003 with an informal meeting, and it was formally established in 2005. At the beginning, we were around 10 families. Now we have around 100 people with aniridia and their families as members. And as for the funding, okay, of course, we have a membership fee, but it is really low, just to allow everybody, because we know that families may have financial issues, especially when you have a person with aniridia in your family group. So we keep it quite low, and we have performed many fundraising initiatives during the years. For example, we were helped by an association of cook amateur cooks that helped us organizing some dinners where they raised funds for the association, and this was done twice, and this helped us a lot. So you have also to have some imagination to find a way where the funds can come from. And yeah, as for Aniridia Europe, we are constantly fighting with the problem of getting financial resources as well as human resources, but we have a lot of human support while we have difficulties in finding funds for giving, for example, for hiring some stable staff and for giving an overall stability. Nonetheless, in this year, we have built a relative stability somehow that helped to perform some fundamental things, such as, for example, the keeping the website and all the let's say the administrative stuff that is needed to run an association. Okay, I think it is all for now.
Ivana, can we come to you?
Yes, thanks. Thank you very much for inviting us and for a fantastic conference so far. My name is Ivana Kilsgård, and I am the chairperson of the Swedish Aniridia Association. I'm also a member of the board of Aniridia Europe. And the Swedish Association was officially founded in 2010, but it existed many years before, thanks mainly to Neven Milivojevic, who was also one of the members that helped found Aniridia Europe many years ago. A few years ago, we also joined the National Association for Visually Impaired in Sweden that has over 12,000 members. And this was mainly because the association is today run as an NGO through voluntary engagement of people. And in order to get support for some administrative things, the National Association can provide this for us. And also we can also get together and also get more members engaged through the National Association. As an NGO, we don't get any funding. We get some support from the National Association annual and from member fees. And as Barbara said also, our member fees are very, very symbolic. They're about 10 euros per person. But it is in a way to show that, you know, being a member also you should get engaged. It is not just to sign up a paper and become a member, but it has some symbolic value. And if it is a family of 4 people, then it is about 40 euros. So that is mostly, as I said, symbolic, but it also gives some sort of engagement for the people. So.
Excellent, thank you very much. I'll go next. I'm from Aniridia Network, which operates in the UK and Republic of Ireland. We were founded, well, it kind of slightly depends on what you mean by founded, but we have existed in some form or another since 2000, when Beth and Hannah got together and started bringing people together there. We now have around about 850 members of people who have aniridia and their relatives, plus doctors and so on. And our income is around about £10,000 each year, which comes exclusively from fundraising of various kinds. Just in contrast to first kind of difference I noticed there, we don't charge for our membership. It's entirely free to sign up. And we reckon we have about 1/4 to 1/3 of the people in the UK who have aniridia. I'll come to Galina next, and then Rosa after that.
Hello, everyone. My name is Galina Ginning, and I'm the president of the Russian Association and the Regional Support Center for Patients with Aniridia Iris. But we are not only helping people from Russia, we are helping actually all the Russian-speaking people from all over the world. So we have many, many countries in our association because Russian people, they are living in many countries. And I'm not just talking about post-Soviet Union countries, but it can be Germany, USA, Canada, whatever. So we have UK even, we have Russian people in everywhere. So we created our association in 2012. And we created in 2013 our scientific committee with the professionals, with the doctors. And they are working really hard in the field of aniridia. Some geneticists we have, some molecular biologists, some ophthalmologists, surgeries. In 2013, our association joined Aniridia Europe. And from 2014, I'm representing, so I'm working in Aniridia Europe team. We don't have member fees because I think if we will, it's so difficult to have a new members, and if we will charge people with the member fees, then it will be more difficult to get new families. So now we have 408 patients with aniridia members in our association, and this is, I think, this is because we don't have any member fees. If we will charge people, then we will have like, let's say 50, not 408. So this is the problem. Also problem at the time, because we all volunteering. It's a private time. It's a lot of time spending and working with the problems of association, and privately answering telephone, emails, and doing things, meetings with the government, with Ministry of Health, and all this with another rare disease organizations. So, but I mean, this is the way, and once we stand up on this way, we have to go, and there is no way back. This is my opinion.
Okay, thank you. And Rosa.
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah. But I think you can see me.
No.
I don't know. I don't know why. It was well, it was right before, but not now. Well, in fact, I am a member of the Spanish Association. I run the association. I funded and ran the associations in 1996. I think it was the first association of aniridia in the world, but closely followed by Aniridia Network and an older association in the USA. Now it has around 150 members. We have a fee, and I think my personal opinion is that if there is a high fee, the members will get will get lower the number of members. No. Well, the one of the first goals of the association was, as many other organizations, to find people with aniridia, because nobody of us knew any other person with aniridia, and contact the doctors who had this experience. So what did we do is to ask the Spanish Ophthalmology Society to have a table or to have a place there in the congresses to disseminate information about our organization. I think this was a very important point, because every year we are in the yearly annual ophthalmology congress, National Ophthalmology Congress, and I could say that all the ophthalmologists in Spain know us. And because we organized several conferences, national in 1999 and international in 2022, in Madrid, and then in Mallorca in 28. And we could see that it is very difficult to bring doctors to a patients organization conference. Then we thought that we had to go to their places. But I have to congratulate Aniridia Network for the success of this conference, because it brought together many patients and doctors. So I don't know which else I could add, but as a start, it's okay.
Okay, great. So that's the kind of introduction to some of the main people here. As I said, there are other fellow trustees of Aniridia Network here, for example, and sort of one or two other people. You're all welcome to chip in and contribute. We've asked Irma from Lithuania as one of our representatives of one of these underrepresented countries that we're particularly trying to kind of reach out to and involve more in the community. So we've asked her to kind of collate some questions and things to stimulate the conversation. So I'll hand over to you if you want to do a bit of an introduction to yourself, and go go ahead.
Hi, hello everyone. I am Irma. I am a founder of the Lithuanian Association Aniridia LT. We have founded association 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, and at the moment we have around 8 families as a member. So it's very small amount of people. We have a little fee as well, and I think that might be why other people don't want to join our association. So we will discuss the fee question in the future in this session, I guess. So let's start with the questions we gathered from the people. And I just ask them, and feel free to answer whoever wanted. Okay, so the first question is, what service that you offer has been the most popular or most useful? What do you think?
Okay, let's start with you, Barbara.
Okay, in the Italian Association, the most popular service was the meetings that we organized, both giving time to families to meet each other, but especially with doctors, because one thing, well, it was also mentioned during this conference in many talks, is that at the hospital you never get enough time because examinations are scheduled, and so you really don't have the time to ask all the questions you would ask. And and then when you go home, you say, oh, I forgot to ask for this, and so on. And so we found that it was very useful for people to organize with doctors when they could ask questions about everyday life, about their concerns, about the use of drops, or with children for their development. So general issues that you don't get the opportunity to ask when you're at the hospital. And this was really the most popular service. And another thing was, and also not only with doctors, I mean medical ophthalmologists, but also, and geneticists, but also with psychologists and educators. And the other thing was to give the families a space and a time to talk to each other, maybe guided by some specialists to help them in confronting and in interacting, and especially with adults with aniridia, because one of the most difficult things when you have a child is that to figure out how his life could be. So we found that it was very, very encouraging and inspiring to meet young adults that, for example, were at the university or were already working, and this was also very popular.
Excellent. Ivana?
Yeah, I would also agree that this organizing events is very, very important. However, we can do that only once a year or once every 2 years, depending on the situation. So on an everyday basis, it is really giving support to members through our Facebook group. So asking questions and so on, providing support, giving links to different articles and so on. And this, I would say, is especially important for new parents, especially where aniridia is a sporadic disease, and they really need support and understanding more about aniridia as a disease. So I would say that's, I would just add that to what Barbara said already.
Rosa. Rosa? Rosa's talking, but you can't hear. So in the UK, yeah, well, obviously, as you said, we do events and things, and they're always very popular. One of the services that is very popular is our
Yes.
that's whereby put in touch with someone who
I think you can, sorry, you can hear me, okay?
can help you,
Well, I agree with,
so we have our befriending scheme, people can write in and request to be put in touch with someone who is in a kind of similar situation. So we often
I can't really hear James properly.
Yes, James, you've gone very quiet, so we can't really hear you.
can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
we can,
Rosa, we can hear you.
you, Rosa.
Sorry, because well, I said that I agree with what has been said here, that the annual meeting together with family meetings is an added value. Is very interesting for families to have the chance to exchange experiences, and in particular if you invite if we invite doctors to speak and they have the chance to ask questions. But what I would like to add is if you belong, for example, if your national association belongs, for example, to a larger platform or rare disease federation, like here in Spain, there are grants for the members, the associations, to provide eye drops, for example, or to give grants to individuals to buy sunglasses, for example. I mean, this is another possibility that we could help from Aniridia Europe to our members, the national associations, if we get funds. As always we say, if we get stronger and we have funds to support the small associations. Sorry, I forgot to say that I was the president for some years of Aniridia Europe, and now I'm a board member. Okay.
Galina, something to say on this one?
Yes, first I want to say for IRMA, just like some comment, you have, if I'm right, you have only 2,700,000 in your country. So to have 8 members, it's really good. It's not bad. For the beginning, it's really nice, and be happy. It's good start. I know Vida from many, many years, and she was wondering to open the association, and I'm really happy that you did this, you and IRMA together, so you and Vida together, and I'm happy that you are so active at this moment, and I'm so proud of Lithuanian Association. So be proud of also of your association. It's really great job. Congratulations, IRMA. And Barbara, I'm also want to say thank you very much for the brochure, what been made by Italian Association. I have Aniridia, because this brochure is a really good resource for all the families with Aniridia, been translated in many languages, Russian as well. So we use this brochure until now, and we just, I made another order to print some more 500 brochures because it's finishing so quickly, because parents giving those brochures to teachers in the primary school, to kindergarten teachers, so it's really, really useful. Also, thanks for James because of Passport of Aniridia Kids, and it's also really working. We translated this Passport into Russian language from 0 to 5, and from 5 to to the end of the school, and it's also really, really useful. I think like we have to all share our resources and help each other, and just don't be shy to take the resource from another association and translate into your language and use it in the benefit of the patients. So it's really, really great opportunity to to share the experience and the information. What about our association? I think the most, we are trying to do everything. As I said, we are taking experience from another countries. We are doing something, especially ours. For example, we created our, like a very small notebook, very small, it's like 4 pages pages, sorry, about the very important things what family with aniridia should know, like 1, 2, 3, just like very, very important things. We published this in our website. We're sending this for any new members. Then we have a WhatsApp 3 groups for parents and members of the family of patients with aniridia and for the patient themselves. The first group called Aniridia Kids. Parents can chat about the school problems, about some activities for their children, you know, whatever, everything what is related to kids. The second group we're using for our organizing moment for our association, when we can discuss our plans and our achievements for our association. And third group we use for discuss doctors, glasses, aniridia center, what is related to the medical condition itself. So this 3 WhatsApp group really useful, more than Facebook, for example, because not everybody in the Facebook, and we have in Russia 2 more, let's say, social platform like Facebook, and some people there, so they are not in the same platform. So WhatsApp, it's more useful. Then I'm trying to travel to all aniridia conferences since I have my Lisa, my daughter, and all information I'm translating into Russian language and sending to the families by mail. I'm really happy when I feel they have all the latest information, not only me, but all the members of our association. I publish this information in a website. I send to everybody by email. So I'm trying to inform every member of our association about the latest research and about latest information what happened in the aniridia field. Sure, we are doing Zoom with the doctors, and especially in this coronavirus time, it's became so popular. Any like Vagar syndrome day, aniridia day, whatever we are using to have Zoom in format questions and answers, and patients really like it. They are always giving a lot of questions to doctors, and doctors happy to answer those questions. So it's really, really useful. And to meet privately, unfortunately, we can't do it because Russia is very, very big. So we made it only once in 2015 in the first Aniridia Russia conference. And then we didn't repeat it again, but we have 41 branches of our association in all the Russia. So those people who belong to this area and they are in this branch, they are meeting often. And this is how the association working at this moment. So, but we cannot meet all together because of expenses and traveling. So it's kind of difficult question. So we will do this in the next Aniridia Russia conference, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, that's really interesting, Galina, what you said there about the size of the country and how that affects kind of how you need to organize yourselves. So can you still hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry, trying to juggle 2 different computers. So just a note on that, in the UK, we obviously have our kind of annual conference normally, but we also do try and have meetups where we just encourage people to get together in a coffee shop. We've done a number of them in London and elsewhere around the UK, just encouraging the local people to come together, as I say, just for a couple of hours, and they find that really useful. I was also just trying to mention before my sound went that our befriending scheme is very popular. We're putting people together on a one-to-one supportive basis. Particularly new parents really like being put in touch with someone to discuss by phone with an adult to find out kind of what's their new baby going to grow up like. They had all these hopes and dreams for their new baby, and seeing an adult who's got this condition can very often demystify it and reassure them a lot of the time. Okay, Irma, which question would you like to ask next?
Okay. What's the hardest aspect of running associations?
Okay, I'm going to try and sort of mix it up a bit now and move us on a bit faster. So who'd like to respond to this?
I think it's time. Time is very expensive, so you feel like just they start and finish like this, and you're all the time on the phone, writing emails, doing some stuff. So really, really important to have stuff, but we can't, because it's all the question of money, and because we are non-profit association, we don't have money for this, so it's all volunteering job, and yes, time.
Well, I just would like to put some humor on this. At the beginning, I remember the first people, 2 or 3 people who called me. I remember cooking at the same time as answering cooking dinner at the same time as answering the telephone, because except Spain, who has the Spanish Association that has an official site, all the associations work from home, and we worked from home for 3 years. So I remember people, even one person who wanted to come to Madrid and wanted to come to my home. I mean, sleeping. They thought they had the right to come and to host them. And this is what I want to say is that we have to remark that we are volunteers. We are not paid. To make clear to all the members that we do our best, our time, free time, but they should, or ask them to contribute as much as they can. We understand that those who have small children is very difficult because they don't have time with work and children. But there are people who could contribute, and as it has been said, the best thing is to find some funds to hire someone professional to run to run the association. We have to think about the International Work Association or Iridia Foundation International, that both Jill Nerby and Kelly Trout, I think, I hope not to be wrong. They are the CEO, and I think they have their salary. I mean, it is a good thing to have at least an administrative staff to support the president and the board members in the different tasks, because they have their work, their family issues, etc. But so we have to work a lot on fundraising.
Absolutely, yeah, very much agree with that. I'd say you said time. I would kind of take it a step back from that a little bit, and our main problem is finding volunteers, actually getting people to volunteer, and to, when they do, be reliable at volunteering as well. And to be fair, it is volunteering, so nothing is expected of you, but yeah, we have loads and loads of ideas and things that we could be doing, but we simply don't have the people either with the time or the skills. Often people say, yes, I want to do something, but they don't have the skill to do the things that you need doing.
Exactly, this is what I want to say. Some people, they want to help, but then you find they have no skill, they cannot do nothing. Then you have to teach them each step what they're supposed to do, and then they said, oh my God, I can finish it more fast, and more, it can save my time. And it's come back to the same circle. Yeah.
So yeah, volunteer management is a real skill and thing. And yes, you do, as you say, you have to teach people, but that takes an investment of effort as well. And yeah, it's getting over that hurdle is a real difficult thing. Any other thoughts on this?
Yeah, if I may comment on this, this is right. I have the same experience. Sometimes managing volunteers can be hard, but I would like to underline that it is a key investment, because for many reasons, well, we have seen this sometimes when associations do not grow with getting new human resources, at one point or another they fail because well, the group of founders can be, of course, willing, can be motivated and committed, but at one point in life, there is something that stops you because, well, for example, you can have some health issues or family issues or whatever it is. And if you are alone, everything fall down. If you manage to create a group of people motivated and you invest in them, and I would like to really strongly underline that especially younger people, because we have to build the new generation. We have done, of course, something in our history. We started almost from nothing, out of the blue, but now is really time to concentrate in building the next generation, because really you cannot be in an association for 30 years or 40 years. Of course, there will be some turnover at one point. So it is important to invest. It is true that it takes time, and it is another issue to be solved. Just to add in some humor too, well, I am known for writing always on my mails on 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning. And then I am lucky that I don't sleep that much. When I have finished with my work, when I have finished with my son and my family and cooking and everything, I open my computer, but it is most of the time it is midnight.
Tracy,
Yeah.
I'm burnt out.
Exactly. When
Burnout.
Barbara sending email, you can see 2 o'clock in the night showing. Yeah, exactly. I can prove this.
Yeah, and I do not get up at 10 in the morning. I get up at 6 or
Yeah.
6:30. So yeah.
But this is
Okay,
what
this
you
is
said,
quite
that-
common, I believe.
Yeah. Okay, Emma, what's the next question?
In the retrospect, what was the best, worst decision or action for your associations?
Have fun.
I don't know what you mean. Can you please explain it sort of more in depth?
So is there something that you did something in your organization that really made a kind of either a big difference, either positive or negative? So what's so you made a kind of a big step to. So for example, we talked earlier about membership fees. About 10 years ago, within Aniridia Network, we decided to stop charging a membership fee. We were charging £5, and we decided to stop doing that because we would instead get lots more members, and we could then ask them to fundraise for us or donate to us. And our membership went from something like sort of 25 people up to 100 and beyond. And as I say, we've now got 850 people who do fundraising and stuff for us. So we can now contact all of those and appeal to them rather than having to do all the administration of membership fees. So yeah, that's kind of the best, I would say, change that we made.
Yeah, for us in Sweden, there was we had good experiences joining the National Organization for Visually Impaired that really helped us with this administration. And it is also based on, depending on the cultural background and way of working, you say you can get much more benefit from raising funding. In Sweden, I don't think we have that approach or the custom to raise funding, but it's a really good idea that you say, this kind of experience, that you take away the £5 and instead you get many more members and then a different engagement. So maybe that could also be spread out elsewhere.
Any other ideas, either positive or negative, that oh, we did this and it really was a bad idea, a bad thing to do, don't do this?
I remember I wrote to Aniridia Network UK when my Lisa just was born, and I said, please take me in your association. And the answer was, no, we are only taking UK citizens. I said, okay, I should open my own association in Russia. You remember, James, we were in a contact, me and you. So he was saying, take it easy, everything will be fine. I remember those days, really. He got with me the Skype call, James. It was really helpful. So the best thing, I think, we joined Aniridya Europe in 2013. It was a great step. And I feel how huge our association now. So what we are now, it's absolutely amazing, guys. And I'm really happy that I'm part of this and Aniridya Russia part of this very big project. And the second good thing, like we did in 2015, Aniridya Russia conference, was also a huge conference. Even Osbjørn, I remember he told me it can be Aniridya Europe conference because it was so good. That was a really nice compliment. And then we opened in 2019 Aniridya Center in Moscow. So this Aniridya Center doing really great job now because they are doing research and they are caring about all the patients we have, not only in our country, but people coming from Belarus, from Kazakhstan, from Kyrgyzstan, from a lot of countries who can speak Russian and who is like near to our country. And this is good. I feel happy for this, really. About bad things, I don't know what. I don't know. I don't think we had something extremely bad or
You
bad
learn from all the
experience.
experiences, so
Exactly.
even those that are bad,
Yeah,
you can turn them to
exactly.
good.
I like to share. I like to take experience from people, and I like to share experience. Yes. I'm very happy with this kind of collaboration. It's really amazing.
Yeah, I believe that we are accustomed that we step in a bad experience. We do all our best to turn it into an opportunity or a positive learning. So, yeah, for example, I cannot remember very bad things, but sometimes it happened during the meetings that we had invited people that we had high expectations on, and the result was not so brilliant. So we learned from them how to choose people. Because, for example, a person can be a great doctor, but not a great communicator. And so if you you have to find a person that was also some empathy and some skills to talk with people and to listen to their questions. And so maybe sometimes, so we this well, the only thing that I can remember is that sometimes in the first meetings we had in the Italian Association, maybe we didn't choose the right persons, but we learned how to do for the next time. So we are accustomed to get the best from any experience.
Well,
we invited you all today, so you all know you're not that person. Irma.
Yes, let's move to the more practical questions now. I will mix them up a little bit. So, what about your suggestions for people who think that they don't have enough knowledge to run organization? Should they start the association, and how official should it be?
well, if I may, I think that it used to be a very good thing to develop an association, an official association. But now with the social digital networks, people find this support they look for in the associations, the mutual support and exchange of experiences and views. This is what I have noticed in the Spanish WhatsApp groups, both the national one and the Ibero-American or Spanish American Spanish-speaking people with Aniridya. So I encourage, very often encourage them to create an association in their countries, but they don't give, there's nobody who wants to take the lead to create an association. Also because they find the answers in the social networks. They don't have this need we used to have before having this social media. This is my opinion. And also because in Latin America, you have to pay monthly for an association. So it is more expensive, that at least in Spain, that you don't have to pay to maintain an association.
Yes, it depends on the laws in the every individual country. But I think it is very important to stress out the importance of having this association. Again, there are cultural differences, but in many countries, an association gives you a credibility and possibility to communicate with different target groups, from professional medical organizations, institutions, to even other members, because engaging members and so on, in some countries and cultures, it is important to have this as an official association. And as such, one can act, also post information, and then also join Aniridia Europe as a full member.
Yeah, as you say, I think it very much depends on what you want to achieve, and if all you want to do is kind of have conversations informally amongst patients and relatives, then yes, perhaps you don't need it. And indeed, I mentioned the friending scheme that we have. In many ways, it's been replaced by Facebook. People just make contact with each other through Facebook, without us. Yeah, I think it does depend on what you want to do. As you say, it does give you credibility. It can also sometimes give you discounts with organisations, with companies. If you can say that you're a non-profit, sometimes you can get things for free, particularly software and things like that online sometimes. And I'd say there's also a credibility internally when you're leading an organisation. The more official it is, there's something that makes you think, oh, I need to do this properly. I need to do this kind of in accordance with the law, with a certain level of quality, kind of customer service, that kind of thing. It just pushes you that extra bit to kind of do things well. But at the same time, that means you are being pushed the whole time to do that and to live up to a standard. So it is a jump to make, and I think, it really depends on, what you are actually trying to achieve.
But I think, James, one thing is very important to think about, and that is that these associations are an association of a rare disease. In Sweden, aniridia was not registered at all as a rare disease. There was no official information about aniridia, which means that even when my son was born 12 years ago, the doctors couldn't give us a diagnosis. So by searching on the internet, I found actually what was the diagnosis. So by establishing this association, number one was that it actually gave us the drive and possibility to actually register aniridia as a rare disease, and then nowadays also to push forward and develop some sort of a program that in many countries already exists. But this is a situation with only 10 million people, so we're not so many with aniridia, and that's why just having a voice is also what it means to have an association. And you don't have to be very ambitious in running an association. It is just having it established that gives you this sort of credibility.
Yeah, as you say,
the same happened in Russia, Ivana. Before we created association, there were no aniridia in the list of orphan disease. So then when we opened association, we start to make a dialogue with Ministry of Health. And then they put aniridia in the list of orphan disease. In Russia, this is only way to have a dialogue with Ministry of Health and with government, with doctors, to have an official association. There is no another way. So nobody will listen to you if you are just a person. You have to have an official association. This is really important. Yeah. And yes. Rosalind, she asked how we create 41 branches. When the new people, because in Russia we have like more than 80 regions, and when new people registered, I checked in the list if there is region we have as a branch. If not, Then I asked this family, could you please be representative for the beginning, be representative in this region? And if they agree, then we write like kind of agreement about they will be representative in this region. And then if new family appear in this region, they just contact to those families, and it became like kind of a communication inside regions. So some regions we have till now, for example, only 2 families live, and some regions we have 15 families in one region. For example, Moscow region, we have 57 families. So it's very, very different depending on how many people live in some region. So it's not difficult, but it's kind of just notification in the schedule of the regions.
If I may add something to the issue about forming or not an association, yeah, I think that Rosa is correct when she says that comparing to the times before internet, probably associations have partly lost their social function somehow, because they have been partly replaced by the media channel, by the social channels. But I strongly agree when Ivana and Galina says that forming an official association gives it to deal with authorities. In Italy, this was the only way we were invited to be part of the process of creating the guidelines. So the official Italian guidelines for aniridia. Otherwise, we were the second association who that did it in Italy. And this was impossible. This would have been impossible if you were not an officially established association. So you would have no standard, no position to dialogue with the National Center for Rare Diseases and the Ministry of Health. So, and this is also a way to get funds, because if you can apply for example, for a project, to be part of a project, or to get funds from, for example, we are participating to a call from Teleton, the charity based in Italy, and the only way we can participate to this is by being an officially established association. So we have to define the objectives we want to fulfill. If you want to be at that level, you need to be a formally established association. If you want to simply create a group or disseminate information, then you could even stay on a lower level of formality, but it depends pretty much on your resources and on your goals and your aims. And I would like to answer also, if I may, a question that was put, I just noticed it now, by Didier, about the possibility of having branches of Aniridia Europe in smaller countries where it is not easy to form an association, because of course there are a few really a small group of people having aniridia, because in these countries there are only a few millions of inhabitants. Didier, we never considered this possibility in these terms of having branches. I don't know in this moment if this is allowed by the Norwegian laws, because Aniridia Europe is based in Norway, and so we have to fulfill all the provisions and requirements of the Norwegian legal framework, but we can investigate it and we can discuss it in the board in the next meetings, so that we can find out if this is a viable possibility, something that we can concretely achieve to help a smaller country to be stronger in our network. We can take note on this and try to see if this is possible or not.
Excellent, excellent. So Barbara there demonstrating one of the issues of being an association, having to abide by your own regulations. This session is due to come to an end, but I'm minded to keep going if everyone else is, and answer a few more questions. We'll look to do the retrospective section maybe in another 20 minutes or so. We'll see how we go. So let's have maybe at least one or two more questions from there, I think.
Okay, well, I think this question is very important to all the small countries and people who are thinking to open the associations, because it's basically the main problem, because we can't find the patients. And why can't we find the patients? Where are they? How do you find your members, or you help them find you?
Okay. Obviously, well, first of all, so one of the things we've done recently, we updated our membership form recently, and I added one of those typical "How did you hear about us?" questions on the end of it. So I wish I'd done that a lot sooner, so I could give a clear answer. But so far, obviously, people are hearing about us from search engines, from doctors who recommend us. I wish that happened more than I believe it does. So I think that's something that we should do, is to try and kind of put leaflets in the hands of doctors in their drawers that they can give out to people about us. We've actually, quite a few people have come to us through us kind of inviting them. In the past, I've had kind of alerts on Google and Facebook and Twitter and things. And so I just basically spot people who mention Aniridia in like newspaper articles, on Twitter, that kind of thing. And I kind of look at their profile, and if they appear to be in the UK, I write to them and say, you know, would you like to be a member of us? This is who we are. Please come and join us. I've got very skilled at looking at Facebook profiles and photos and going, I think you're an American. You're not a UK person, just on the basis of which TV shows they like and the size of their house. But yeah, so yeah, things like that, basically being proactive about it, and kind of always following up. So you know, whenever you have a we also, one of the things we do is when people write to us and ask for help for things, it's a bit tricky, but basically we say you need to become a member before we will pass your question on to our doctors and things like that. So yeah, if they write to us, we kind of insist really that they become a member of us first, and then as I say, we can continue communicating with them.
Can I add something for James? His name on the Facebook, James Aniridia.
Yes.
And this is how people, when they just writing Aniridia in the Facebook, the first person I think appeared as James, because he called himself James Aniridia. And this is the way how you can find the people from the beginning. For example, when I'm contacting with some small countries like Indian people, I create for them myself an Aniridia India group on a Facebook, and I said, people, there is another people will find you in this group. Just keep yourself in this group, just answering questions, communicate with them. The same I did with Aniridia Kazakhstan, and so on, so on. So when you help people to find the way how to contact with another people, then this way start to work. And really, I learned this from James, because when I understood while you typing the Aniridia, and he's coming, the first one, because he called himself Aniridia, then I understood it's working. So I call my group, for example, the Aniridia Russia, I call Aniridia in Russian language, then in English. So anyone will come and they will see the group. But when people start to contact you, then, as James said, he said, this is the right moment. I'm always saying, yes, I will send you the package of information, and it's for free, but just register yourself in our website. And I will send the 28 emails with the full of information, very important thing, but just register it yourself. When registration come in my email, Then I just start to send emails for this family, and then we contact again through phone after they finish reading all those emails, after they became little bit in this field, and then they start to have questions, very special questions. Then I spend can be 1 hour, 1.5 hours to answering special questions. One people will ask after they will read all this information. This is how it's working in our association, for example. But it's really important to start from social media, social network. So Facebook, the #1, then it's now Instagram, and all this. I think different countries, they have different also platforms for this. So we have to be active in those platforms, and we have to use them, in the full potential.
I can share some experiences from Sweden. Sweden is a very big country in size, but we only have 10 million people. And we do have a challenge actually to engage and find new members. From statistics, we know that about two-thirds of people have inherited aniridia, which means that over time, there are few families that we know that have many members that have aniridia. And then we don't have many experts that have aniridia, but it was heard through doctors and so on that they got together. But then the challenge was also how to get people with sporadic aniridia engaged. Because for them it is new, and there is, as Galina said, they take contact. So then the information needs to exist somewhere, like a website or some on social media, some group that they would like to join. But then keeping them engaged is another issue, another challenge. How do we keep these people engaged and then they could actually contribute? What Barbara said earlier, very important that you can also spread this engagement.
I wanted to, if I may, to say that linking with the previous question, you are not taken seriously if you are not a formal association, and then doctors will refer their patients to the association. This is one step. I mean, before social media existed, that we already managed the association. It was the blind organization who contacted people with aniridia, and also if you work seriously and established as an association, doctors perceive that or look at you at the association as something legal and serious and refer patients to you.
Okay, great. So I've just put a link in the chat just to kind of get started with this next retrospective session. If we want to basically go and edit that document and start telling us what went well about this conference, what could have been better, what we could have done differently, to basically inform next year's hosts, and any ideas or things that you think we should do, then while we're chatting, feel free to go and edit that document and try not to clash with each other in terms of what you write, but yeah, please do go and fill that out. Let's carry on. Next question, Emma.
Okay. What is the best way to start and build the relationship between doctors and aniridia patients, like association?
I'd like that one, to know that one. We don't have a good enough relationship with our doctors, I feel.
I thought you wanted to answer.
No, I didn't hear the answer. I mean, we have a good relationship with them, but I think it could be a lot deeper and more.
Yes, I think this is a very, very important question, and it is also very tricky because again, as an official association, as a person that represents an association, you are much more credible to take contact with the doctors. From my experience, it takes time. You need to build up a relationship with people, which is both professional, but also half professional, half personal, because this is a rare disease. In many cases, like when I had contact with my son's doctor, he had several patients with aniridia, but he was very honest with me, and he said, I'm not interested in researching in a rare disease. I'm just interested in researching in general children eye diseases. So it's very difficult to find a person and to engage a person that would be interested in this rare disease, and it takes a lot of time. And when you come to that, then of course building up this relationship, engaging them and so on, you need to create trust. And this trust and professional behavior towards these professionals is essential and very important. So then over time, engaging and looking into how you can create value for them, because for the doctors, it's also very important that you can create value for them, that you need to find a way. And it is different on different levels, local, international, and so on. So yes, I think this is a very important question that we can share a lot of experiences about.
When you find a really good doctor, really good in your opinion, as she's professional and he's interested in, let's say, his brain still working as a young, person, then it's good to collect with him or with her more patients. And when they start to become, let's say, more professional about the disease, they start to be more interesting about this disease. It's kind of psychological way to, to move the wheel. And so you have to be really careful, as Ivana said, and really, really patient in this situation. So step by step, you're sending more patients to the same doctor, and step by step, it became more interesting in the subject. And then they start to think about how to write article, they start to think how to join the conference, and so on, so on. So it's so, let's say, it's not easy, slowly, but very important way. And then you can invite him to make some Zoom with a patient, or invite him in some round table for rare diseases, step by step, trying to take him in kind of activities if he's able to do this. So it's really, really long procedure.
Does anyone have any kind of like activist doctors who kind of are really proactive? My dream was sort of finding a kind of a young doctor who kind of wanted this to be their specialty and kind of, really make things happen. Okay, next question then.
What makes an association flourish or fail, do you think?
I think it must be active, otherwise, and it has been already said that if it is only one person who works and there is no involvement of the rest of the board of other volunteers, the president or the leader is burnt out and decides to close. Or if there are no members, there is no involvement of other volunteers. This is in my opinion, the challenge. No incomes.
Yeah,
I agree with you, Rosa.
Yes, I agree. And I would add that it is important to have a realistic view of what are your possibilities and your resources. Because if you start thinking that you will be able to do 1,000 things and you do not have the resources or the skills, you will fail for sure. If you start by doing 2 or 3 things that you can realistically achieve, this can build step by step your credibility, and you can involve more people. But it is important to have a realistic perception of what you will be able to do, and take your time, which is quite difficult, because the reason why all of us we are here is that we would find solutions for people with aniridia. We would like to improve their life, their quality of life. We would like to find a solution for some diseases. When I started 20 years ago, 22 years ago. I hoped that in a decade, some things that were not possible at the time would have been possible. This was not totally true. This was only partially true. And we have made great improvements, but still there are many, many things that we still don't know, and we are looking for them still. And we have to accept this. We have to continue working, to be determined and motivated, and be confident that we can make a step forward, even if all our expectations are not met as soon as we would like. So it is very important also to have some resistance, some capacity to last over time, to that your psychological energy and your motivation lasts over time. And if you take the stride longer than your leg, this makes for sure your association fail.
I completely agree with that. I think, like we said earlier, it really comes down to people management and volunteer management, to find good people and nurture them and give them skills, and give them small tasks and build up into bigger ones and things so that they become really valuable, useful, engaged, enthusiastic people. And then retaining them, giving them a break when they need it, giving them time out to go and, as you say, have children and other things that happen in their lives, but trying to kind of maintain contact with them. It's it's the same as any organization, any business or whatever. It's about the people at the end of the day. People make the organization, and they're its most valuable asset. So it really is about how you manage individuals, and develop them and keep them on board, and make sure that when people do leave for whatever reason or take a break, that you have new people coming up, ready to take their place. And I think one of the important things to remember is that all of us here, we are not indispensable, and you have to be thinking about what happens when you're not leading it. And it's also worth thinking about, actually, am I part of the problem? And actually, if I stepped back, would other people come in and fill this space? And they don't at the moment because I'm here. So it's always worth sort of trying to take an external view and think about what's actually going on, and how can we develop people and bring people in.
James, I think you made a very good point. I think communication is a key issue to keep people involved, because if you don't inform them or you don't tell them what you are doing as president or as a board member or as a board, as the board, they think you are not doing anything, and the association doesn't have activity. Even if you apply for funds and you receive a negative answer, you have to tell them about it. I mean, an informative leaflet, something, well, now on the internet, on the website, or just a short notice, but they have to see that it is active and things are doing successfully or not so successfully, but the association is active. I think so.
I think that goes both ways as well. So it's showing that you are doing something and that there is activity, but it's also showing and sharing with people and saying, this is how it works, so that they can take that on. One of the biggest kind of challenges we have is actually delegating things and kind of saying, okay, you want to help with this. And as Galina said earlier, right, but it's all so intertwined with all the other things we do. How can I give you this one thing to do? Because in order for you to do that thing, I need to teach you these 10 other things. So I think it's also about trying to kind of work in the open as much as possible, and kind of share how you work and reduce the reliance on individuals as much as possible.
Yeah. I agree. Mhm.
Okay, maybe one more question.
What project do you wish the Aniridia community from like around the world would come together to achieve in the future, like near future?
World Aniridia Conference.
The registry of
World
Aniridia patients.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The registry of Aniridia patients.
Do you mean the European registry, like one for all Europe? Yes.
Yes. Okay. This
Can be
should.
more.
Yeah, this is more complex than that, because it is. It should be some. This topic has been discussed in the in the panel yesterday. And this is not so easy to achieve, because some indispensable things are there. For example, we have rules, we have standards, so we have successful examples for registries, but we still miss some important things, such as funding, of course, but also some agreement that can overcome the barriers between countries. So this is something we could really fight to achieve, because this could be the turning point of knowledge about Aniridia. If we start somewhere with having a registry on this on Aniridia, this could provide great knowledge and great ideas to find to investigate what could be therapeutic solutions to address the condition. So it is important that we find a way to get there. I don't think it will be easy or quick, but this is the dream of my life somehow, to create an international registry. We could start from Europe so somehow, but we don't have to limit to this, because it is important to, there is great knowledge that has been created in other countries, such as the United States, Canada, Russia, and so we cannot miss this this knowledge. We should work to have an international registry. I think it is possible, because other diseases have it on an international basis. We have to find a way, and this is really what I would really focus on in the starting maybe from the doctors that were at the conference, because as I said, it was discussed in the panel, but this is really a key issue for Aniridia.
One goal what we will achieve, all of us will achieve really soon, it's European guidelines, and it's the thinking about this making me really happy. So I feel like it will be really soon, and it really will be really huge achievement. So I'm happy to understand this.
My pet idea, which I've told a number of you, is I'd really like there to be a kind of something even bigger and better than the Gene Vision website. My name for it is Aniridipedia, as in Wikipedia for Aniridia. I would love it to be a kind of multilingual website that anybody can kind of edit and contribute to, that we would have like case studies of people, information about all the common questions that we get, like swimming goggles and where are the best doctors and all this sort of stuff, that we should have all that information in a kind of a publicly accessible and easily maintainable by, again, not one person, but by the whole community. That's my dream. Any other thoughts? Any other questions from the?
For me, research projects in general, yeah, and sharing information now on the webinars at national level and European level. These are the best things in the, I mean, to highlight.
I think from all of the things that we have talked about today, one thing that has been going through like a red thread is actually there's a huge project that we have been running for many years, and that is finding the funding for doing all these things, and especially for having a person that can help us and support, especially the board of directors that do have their professional life and private life as well, and have a lot of energy. But in order for us to be a really professional organization, lifting it up on this, we are already a very professional organization, but we can lift it up on a next level, and that is we need to find the funding, and that's a huge project in itself.
Right. Just to wrap this up then, is there anything specifically that we kind of as a team, as individuals should do to support these underrepresented countries, which, you know, to kind of help answer these kind of queries and so on?
Well, I can see that from the last many years, we have provided a lot of support for new associations and people that are interested in establishing new associations. And it is not easy, of course, and it is, you know, where to start from. We've shared our statutes and so on, experiences, and this is also part of the work that the board of directors does. Also. So I think we are a stronger community as we are as strong as there's, you know, the weakest link. So we need to work on this, improving these weakest links for everyone.
Well, Ivan, as you know, we have worked with Serbia, with Poland, with Czech Republic. Sometimes they have troubles to find people with HIV in their country. So, and someone who wants to lead or to be part of the board of a board. So we are constantly or continuously encouraging them to create an association. And in this, Galina has been great to build associations in the former countries belonging to Russia.
Great. I think we'll call that to a close. I'd just like to thank you all for some tremendous views and opinions. Really, really informative. Irma, I hope you feel that was useful for yourself and colleagues.
Yes, I think that was great. It's a lot of information, and I hope there was people who took what they need from this session.
Yeah, indeed.
Thank you very much, all of you. I am glad I met you all here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you on board as well. You're one of the key people who meant that we could get the funding to make this event possible. So yeah, thank you to you specifically as well. Great. To wrap up then, we mentioned we were going to do a retrospective. This is basically just a kind of look back at how this event went, and for that matter, just kind of including for good measure the Aniridia Day and Rare Disease Day in 2021 as well, and if anyone's got any sort of thoughts about that and how to do that better. So there is, as I said, there's a link in the chat there, which would take you to a Google document. Hopefully you can all edit that, or at least if you have a Google account. Then basically what I'd like you to do is just spend 5 minutes writing some thoughts in there. Put down some things that went well, say what could have been better, and if you've got any ideas for the future. We will be sending out a feedback survey as well. That will go out either today or tomorrow, where you can obviously give us properly sort of anonymous feedback. We really appeal to you to fill that in. But yeah, if I can ask you to put some words down there, tell us what you thought, particularly say what we could do better, so what you could use for our UK events and the European Aniridia Conference next year. That would be really, really useful. We'll spend maybe 4 minutes, just because we've got time, doing that. You're welcome to continue editing this and adding to it after the thing. But if we just sort of spend 4 or 5 minutes doing that, and then we'll come back and have a quick chat about the things that are in there, if there's anything that people want to expand on, and then we'll close at just before 25 past. Okay. So yeah, so if you all just basically take a few minutes to do that, we'll give you some quiet time to do it.
Okay. I'm not going to be able to.
If you can't fill the document in, but you still want to contribute, then maybe type it into the chat instead, or you're welcome to say some stuff out loud if you wish.
Okay.
In my opinion, everything just went really good, and conference was excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
I put some notes, like in my opinion, the breaks were really small, but okay. Even this, it's not. I mean, it's really, it's okay. It's nothing to do with the main organization. And the really important thing that some presentations even finished 2-3 minutes earlier. So everything just was like a clock. So every presentation was on time. So this is absolutely a fantastic job.
Thank you. I mean, the vast majority of them were pre-recorded, so that certainly helped with that. And so we were playing out the recordings. We didn't have to juggle the Q&A side of it, which was often a challenge. But yeah, okay. Anyone else want to expand on any of their thoughts and any of their points?
Fantastic organization, really, James. I used to be part of Albanism online conference. I can say it's quite similar, but this one is even better. You know, I was surprised how it can be good online, but this conference is absolutely fantastic, honestly.
So I have to give due credit to Dave McKay for kind of wrangling, and Nikki Hall as well, for wrangling all the speakers. And in terms of the actual production, we paid a production agency to actually do this. There's a technician behind the scenes pushing all the buttons and scheduling all the videos and things. So the slickness is all thanks to them. But obviously, we did the pre-work to that. But yeah, it's massive thanks all that, and to all of you who obviously contributed and helped us make contact with those speakers and things. Younger people. Yeah, I really hope the younger people event was going to be more than it turned out to be. That's just sadly didn't happen.
I agree that it was a fantastic work. You must have worked very hard for a long time, because we pre-recording and all this. But it has been very good idea to hire an agency or a company that can manage all these technical issues, especially because I don't know much about this. But we have to learn for next year. I mean, I don't know what in which situation we'll be in May 2022. That I can announce that it would be in Alicante mid-May. Alicante is on the southeast coast in Spain. Good weather in May, and but we don't know which kind, in which situation of the pandemic we will be. So we plan to do a mixed version. I mean, on pre-recorded online speeches and essential face-to-face speeches. I can also say now that we already established or created an scientific committee, organizing committee, three professionals and 3 patients of the association. And but we are now at the stage of raising funds, applying for funds on national and European level before thinking about the agenda or and we were waiting for this conference to finish, to be over. So excellently as it has been, we have a high a high level to reach, but we didn't want to announce anything until this was over. This is over, and now we will start to organize more particular things. But I can already announce the place and the time. There is a doctor very involved from the beginning, from the first conference in Spain, among others, that Dr. Jorge Alio, which is a professor there in the University of Alicante, who has contact and has managed to find places, meeting rooms, and so on to organize the conference there.
Yeah.
I think you can imagine, Rosa, how everybody happy to visit Alicante next year. And especially when I said to our doctor, the next one will be in Alicante, I said, oh, please stop coronavirus. So everybody wants to be there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to, I'm looking forward to a beach holiday now. Yes,
yeah.
Exactly,
And then another thing, you remember, guys, how it was difficult to find every 2 years who will manage the conference. And now I think we have like kind of queuing what country will manage the next conference. And we said like, okay, we will do it every year. And even with every year, we have our queuing of countries who will manage the next conference. And it's really, really exciting to know how active became Aniridya Europe as a main association, as an umbrella association, and how active became each country, each association, each country. That's really, really amazing. I think after Spain, maybe Norway will be the next.
You're nominating now.
Yeah. I heard
it's Sweden, because
Sweden, yeah, the Nordic countries, they are kind of magic there.
It is like Eurovision. So the Russian votes go to.
No, so, I will wait until Nordic countries they will finish with the Russian.
Right, we need to wrap up. But I'll just say, in terms of the next conference, we are really keen that you benefit from what we've learned. So we're really keen to hand over all the sort of the branding and the kind of the survey forms and all that sort of stuff that we had to do for this. So we want to make your conference as easy as possible to do by kind of reusing and learning from all that we've done.
The last days was very, very, very well done. I mean, the constant, every day a message reminding and how to join and how to put questions and how, all this we have to learn from you, really.
Rosa, there's one question in the chat asking, do you already know the dates for the conference? It's in May, but do you already know the dates?
There is we had prepared for the first May, but there is a huge ophthalmology congress, World Ophthalmology Congress, or in the USA, I think. So we have to postpone it to the second one. I think it is 14 or 15.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't.
Thank you very much. As I say, really, really useful, and thank you on behalf of all the audience members and doctors and physicians and so on who took part today. And I think that everyone's been brilliant and for taking part as well as presenting, etc., etc. So I'm going to hand over to Dave, I think, to close us off.
Thank you, James. A lot of what you have said, I'm going to really repeat. We are so grateful to everybody who has helped organize this conference. We have already given special mentions to Nikki Hall. Thank you very much. We have also given thanks to other medical clinicians. We're really grateful to you all, Maria, everybody, even Aniridya Europe. We're grateful to you We're grateful to Barbara for rallying people around. We cannot say enough how much we appreciate what you've done. So thank you very much indeed for that. All I'm now going to say is that if you want to get involved with a society, if you're not already a member of an organization in your particular country, then all you need to do is contact the websites of the respective organizations that you've heard of today. Links will have already been posted here, there, and everywhere. If not, please contact Aniridia Network in the UK. Will point you in the right direction for your particular country if you don't know who to contact. I want to also give thanks to the technicians behind the scenes, the people that make everything tick over, who have helped us put slides on screen and the camera coordination. Thank you very much. Big thank you to Millie and Simon, and to Everywhere Plus, the agency that provided this to us. You are going to be able to continue to recommend to people via social media about this conference. And the way you do that is use social media, tell them about the website 2020 aniridiaconference.eu, and they'll be able to watch this because it's still going to be there for some time. As soon as it's about to be taken down, you will be notified. So we hope that you've had a great conference. It's been a marvelous 2 days. I know I've enjoyed it and learned stuff. So do take care. Do continue to have a look at the abstracts and the booklets. The buttons are below the video on the main screen there. So enjoy yourselves. Have a good evening and a rest of your week. Take care.
Thank you.